We're streaming now.
Yeah, use that then. Use that honor.
What about for me?
That clock is
Yeah,
off
it's
now
just
too.
like,
Don't
sorry,
say
I'm
anything,
gonna wake you
Paul.
up, but he doesn't
What?
get up early enough. But-
Okay, as it is 6:30, I will call this to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the Union City Community Schools Board meeting. Our meeting agenda is available for you to follow. The expectation for our board meeting is to follow this agenda closely. We operate under the Open Meetings Act and utilize Robert's Rules of Order to govern our discussion and decision-making process. There is an opportunity for public comment during our set agenda. We welcome the public to express their opinions during this time of our agenda. If there are questions about the agenda or the board meeting process, please seek out one of the board members for clarification. Do we have any addition or deletion of items to the agenda? Seeing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Move to approve.
Support. Discussion?
I think it's great that they're willing to take the kids out on the overnight field trip. I think it's great team building, and I think we have good coaches, and I'm excited.
Great.
It's a great time.
Please thank Clint for me
I will.
and Jessica.
Will do.
Any other discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Motion carries. We'll move on to correspondence. Do we have any correspondence for this evening? Okay. And have our first public comment time. This is the section of the meeting in which the public may make comments or share their opinions about items on the agenda. We ask you to limit your comments to no longer than 5 minutes per person to allow others the opportunity to speak. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to your concerns. It is not board practice to act on the concerns voiced during this meeting to allow for the board to do further research. Do we have any public comments at this time? Seeing none, we'll move on to our action items. Financials. Board action is required to approve the financials for the month ending January 31st, 2024. Boy, that seems weird to say 2024 like that. And I will entertain a motion for the same.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Not at this time.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Motion carries. Next is the board amendment resolution for 2023-2024. Board action is required to approve the budget amendment for 2023 and 2024 as presented. I will entertain a motion for the same.
So moved.
Support.
Discussion?
Okay, now I'm gonna talk.
Yes. And I
Um,
think this is,
Sarah has-
Sarah has stuff to present as
I
well.
mean,
Okay.
you can just vote. I don't have
No,
to.
I thought we need to get the vote on the table.
Okay.
For you to come up, so.
Do you have questions you wanna ask first?
I just wanted to say a couple things. One, there's a lot in here, more than I was expecting. Number two, I appreciate the extra effort you went to in many cases and some of the information that you gave. And then, yeah, number three, I had a couple questions, but I think maybe you might answer them when you speak, so maybe we'll let you go first.
Okay. So I was really trying to find a better way to present the information to the board. I feel like it's hard to know, even for me sometimes, to remember what expense falls under each function when you're just looking at everything. So, the first thing that's new is the function section descriptions, which looks like this. And this actually breaks down every expense section and gives more detail of what actually falls underneath of that. For instance, the pupil support services, that really has like our guidance counselors and social work and things like that. So you know that's what that falls under. I'd like to include this every time I do the monthly update too, just so you guys can always have that there if you have questions you're thinking of. I think it would help you kind of understand what this is coming from.
I've been on the board for, I
It's a
don't know,
great idea.
6, 8 years, and I've never had this information, so this is like candy to me. Thank you. And I can come back and find it, so you don't have to put it every time, but if you want to, that's great, but I didn't know, I'm like, what is this, and now I know a little bit more about what it is.
Yeah.
I don't wanna spend 80 hours going through every single item, but this is
Yeah.
helpful.
Good. And I did reach out to other business managers to see what they do for the reports. And across the board, nobody changes the actual report format. And I think it's just because we are required to have it like this. Nobody wants to consistently have to update 2 different kinds of reports. So what they do is what I did here, which is the narrative, but I kind of did the format a little bit different to try to make it more easy to understand as well. So in the amendment narrative, I first had the revenue, and I try to pull out the big changes. So for instance, in our local revenue, there's an increase in youth and government grant. And I'll explain that just because it's a little bit different. So in past years, for one, we didn't actually even receive a grant from the state, but now we are. And last year, they just kind of billed us the difference. But this year, they want to show the actual revenue going out. So we have increased revenue because the additional money coming in, but then our expenses are also going to be a little bit higher on that side. And it amounts to like $26,000 or so, $27,500. So that's a little bit different. I just wanted to pull that out because completely different than what it's been in the past. We did get a transportation bonus that I was not expecting, and that was $60,000. And then the TAG funding, that was actually received right at the end of last year. Initially, I thought it was going to go into last year's, but because of the date, it had to come into this year. That one is offset with expenses, so it's kind of an in and out. There's additional funding for the 31N grant, and then we had additional funds in laptop iPad sales.
Sarah,
Yes.
I'm bad at remembering questions, so I'm gonna interrupt you every now and then.
Yeah, that's fine.
The transportation bonus, that is to be used for transportation only, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Also, I don't wanna add more work, but it would be nice too if you're showing changes, if it's an in-out, that means something different to me than something that's just revenue or just an expense. Maybe if you like,
So.
nope, you don't have to go through and
Well,
change it, I'm just,
Yeah, so what I did, if you look down further, and I don't have to go through every single thing, but if I go down further in revenue breakdown, I put in what each of them are. And like for the
Okay,
youth
sorry.
and government grant, I put in what it is and then I said expense under basic program. So you can see that. And then like the TAG grant offset with expenses and basic program.
So
So I try to pull each one, and then if there's actually something specific it applies to, or somewhere that it's getting offset, I try to include that.
the transportation bonus isn't really an in and out because.
That one's
that
not,
one's-
that's
no,
just
I understand that.
additional.
Okay,
I was just asking if that was transportation only, and then the second question was separate with the
Okay.
Yeah.
in-out stuff.
all right.
So,
Because in-outs don't really matter as much to us because, or to me anyway, because it's a wash, right? So it's the
Right.
ones where, hey, we're getting more money, we're spending more than we thought, that's not wash, that I get more concerned about.
right, so like, the second page of all that information, there's the UAAL 147C. That's offset by expenses throughout district employees' retirement cost. And that's, a decent amount of money, but it's offset against all the expenses we have for that. So does that kind of make it easier for you to see
Yeah.
what those ones are? Do you want me to go through all of them?
I don't think you need to.
There's quite a bit of them. And then for the expenses, I did want to point out, so we had a salary and benefit increase for staff besides teachers amounting to $134,900. That's against multiple functions, so I kind of pulled that out, so I'm not gonna go to every single one, cause some might be like 20,000, and I think that would just be
So,
unnecessary.
just, why did that happen? Just curiosity. Do you know?
Because there were pay increases.
Okay, so the pay increases from the last.
So those were done before, or those were done after I had done the budget
Okay.
amendment. The teacher's contract was finalized before I did the budget, so I could include those, but the others were after, so I
Okay.
couldn't update that till after.
Like the support staff and stuff like that, right?
Basically, everybody
Pretty
but
much
teachers.
Everybody else other than teaching.
So
Okay.
that's, I mean, that's,
Okay,
you know, a decent amount of people.
yep.
And then I also wanted to include, there's a retirement increase of $510,000. That includes an increase to retirement contribution from 28% to 31%, which amounts to $349,000 increase. Then we also have the UAAL 147C increase. That's the one that's offset by revenue. So what we are not getting funding for is that additional $349,000. Now, we got information from, the governor did her first kind of proposed budget. And one of the things in there is to have that go down to 27, do you remember?
Yeah, 27.
I think it was 27%.
But that's just the governor's
That's just the
proposal right
governor,
now.
but
That's-
the
and that's
fact
for
that
next
she
year.
even,
That isn't this year.
So,
Yeah. I'm just saying it's not gonna help that number right
Question.
now.
no, it's not, but I'm hopeful that that means that it'll go back down.
so, again, I apologize, I probably asked this 5 times, but, so the state government tells us we have to pay to the state government for retirement. And then the state government distributes that money, but they wanna show it in our books, because that's what they do. But the state government said basically that, usually it's in and out, but this year they're saying we gotta find $350,000.
So that's two separate things.
Okay,
So there's first just the percent increase that has to do with retirement contribution. That is always something we've had to pay for, and it's based on the number that they give us basically. But then there's the second piece, which is that 147C, and that's the in and out, like the in
And
and
the
out.
state has never, it's, the retirement has never been an in and out for all of it.
Yeah,
It's
a
only been
portion.
that part of it, that UAAL. We've always been paying retirement.
Right.
but the state this year said you're gonna increase it from 28 to 31, and that's an extra $350,000 that we weren't planning on spending.
Yeah,
Correct.
That doesn't actually go to our teachers directly, it just goes to a slush fund.
well, it goes
It's
into
going
the
to-
pension fund
Yeah.
to pay pensions.
That seems higher than it has been in the past, like a lot higher.
31%?
It is.
It
Yeah.
is. Which, that's why I'm optimistic when I heard that the governor's proposal, first one was 27%. Because I think they realized that. So, I mean, obviously that doesn't help this year, but.
And that's a huge pill to swallow.
Before the state added that UAAL funding, it used to be schools picked up everything. But it got so high that they decided to start, the state at one point added that to help us cut that back down. So even though they've added that though, it still keeps getting higher. So maybe they'll increase that amount, so we won't have to pay so much.
And they have, so the school budget, the funds in the school budget for the state have been higher than projected the last few years. And they've used that as an opportunity to find other ways to pay that down. So, don't know if you remember, but last year there was a one-time deposit that was $100 and some thousand, and that was similar to the 147C. But the point of it was to try to get that cost down. So.
Okay.
And then the other larger increase was a medical increase, which we were expecting, but not quite as much, I guess, as it was. But it's like that across the board for everybody that has any health insurance. And that's across the board, of course. So the rest of the expenditures, I did similar with the revenue, that it will say increase of $360,000 from purchase of iPads, laptops, but then it says it's offset by the ECF fund grant. So $260,000 of that was covered, plus we had additional sales in iPads, laptops to offset that cost.
Basically, between the two things,
It's
they
100,000.
covered each other. Between what we got from selling laptops and iPads and that grant, it pretty much covered the 360. So it was like a break even, but we get new devices.
So my kids aren't happy with the iPads, but
No.
discussion topic.
That is, I would rather have the math books back myself, but
I've done my job as a father, because they both made it very clear that they wanted me to mention that. And I understand that. I mean, I think we would all prefer laptops if we could afford them.
there's no doubt. I have no doubt.
The rest of it is, I mean, it's like a little bit here, a little bit there. I don't think you want me to go through every single one. But what I would like from you guys is if you can take the time to look at this and you have suggestions for things that you would be helpful to you guys to understand, to let me know, because I want it to be as transparent to you guys as possible. So you don't have, questions you feel are unanswered.
I've asked most of the questions I've had along the way, but I'll look at it again and come back to you with any more I might have or suggestions.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
The one question. So if you look at the budget resolution amendment, the budget.
Yes.
The budget comparison for the general fund. So we have the final budget amendment, that's what we approved in June.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have, what? Are you with me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. And then we have the budget amendment, which we're trying to approve now. The one in the middle, is this like a FYI, or what? I'm confused what the proposed budget was versus the budget amendment.
Oh, that shouldn't say proposed. That should say approved.
Okay.
That should be approved. So
That
one
makes
thing I
more
didn't
sense.
point out too, you see how there's green numbers?
Yep.
Those two are actual numbers, because when I did the final budget, I didn't have the actual ending balance.
Okay.
So, like you can see at the beginning, $2,081,000. Well, our actual beginning budget is the $1,931,000.
Oh. Okay. So at the end of the day, when we sat here in June, the middle one we approved when?
That was at the June meeting.
That was June.
Yep.
The first column is the budget for the end of last year.
Okay, there we go. Now we're on. Okay.
First column is end of last year. The second column is the budget you approved in June for this year.
Okay.
And it was all estimated because none of the numbers, but then the last column, the number is in green at the top because that was the audited
Okay.
end of year last year. Remember, the audited came in with a lower fund balance than Sarah had projected. So the last column is a revision from the second column.
Okay, so the bottom line is we are going to still lose money this year, but we're going to lose less than we thought,
Correct.
even though we swallowed a $350,000 pill from our state government.
Correct.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions?
Okay, thank you, Sarah. All right, as this is a resolution, I would ask Kelly to call the roll, please.
Arlt,
Here?
Gauchi,
Here.
Labar,
Yes.
Herman.
Yes. All right, now we will, it passes, resolution passes. We'll move on now to the Neola policy, winter 2023 special update. Board action is required to approve the special updates as presented.
This is the one you approved last month on a first reading vote so that we could have it in place immediately. And so you just need to vote on it again this month, which will put it in place permanent.
So it was a Band-Aid before?
When you do it, the way our policy reads is that if you want to enact a policy on first reading, when you do it, it's only enacted until the next meeting. And then at the next meeting, you either have to pass it again or it becomes inactive.
Because we have to have 2 readings.
Right, right.
And last month was the first reading.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the Neola policies forever,
Until they change them.
until they change again.
Yeah.
So Support.
Discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. Motion carries. Board President pay increase.
So I'll make a motion so we can talk about it. I would make a motion that we would increase the board president pay from $25 to $40 in meeting to support extra efforts the school board president goes through and to promote people to want to maybe do that in the future.
I support.
Discussion.
None of us are doing this to make money, so it's not like,
No.
but I do think that the president has extra jobs and extra work, and no one wants to be president. I think it's a gesture that's worth doing. It's not gonna make the school go broke, and it's not gonna make the president rich, but I just think there should be something special for the president with more work than everybody else. That's my only reason. And I don't know if $40 is right, it should be 500, but,
I was gonna say, where did 40 come from? Because I think it should be more.
okay.
Wow.
'Cause I thought, well, 50 double, she's not double as good as us, but I don't know.
Bite.
I think $25 is pretty cheap too, to be honest with you, but
Yeah,
Yeah.
oh yeah.
we're not here to make money, so,
True.
and I get to go to the games for reduced cost.
Yes,
I'm not sure if that's known or not.
yes.
Anyway, pick a different number, I don't care, I wanted to get it on the table and I keep talking about it, let's just do it, so pick a number and let's go.
You just picked a number right now? Is that what you did?
I thought about it before I came here, but my point is,
But it wasn't discussed ahead of time with any.
in order for us to discuss it, we have to have a motion, so I made a motion
True.
for $40.
Gotcha.
If you want, do you a proposed alternative, and would you like to discuss that during the discussion time?
Let's do 45.
Perfect.
Seriously? Whatever, fine.
Now here is.
So you wanna vote it down for $5?
Here's the situation though for tonight. We just have quorum,
Yeah,
and I think I should recuse myself from this vote
sure.
because it affects me. Because of that, it would fail tonight because we only have 3 voting people at this time, which would mean that it's a failed motion. So, what I propose is that we vote this down. You can vote for it. I will still abstain from voting, and it would kill the motion for now. Bring it back next month when we have additional people, so that so that I can abstain.
Okay,
Okay?
Yes.
All right.
no, so it's best, so voting yes and voting no is the same result,
Yes.
then I'm gonna vote no. It's my own motion.
That's okay. That's all right. I just feel like I should not be voting
I understand
on
that.
something
That's
going
fine.
bad.
Understand.
So,
I'm a little upset that only 4 of us are here, but that's.
well, hopefully next month we'll have more. All
We
right.
should pay them more too, so they can do for their job.
Well,
We have some
in
extenuating
fairness, we have
circumstances.
a couple of pretty good reasons.
All right, so, we have a motion and we've had discussion. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. All those opposed, the same. All right, and I abstain, so it does not pass and we could
I'm torn.
revisit this
I'm crushed.
next month.
So you'd like me to leave it on the agenda?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Think about a better number if you want, Jen, I'm gonna
Okay.
for you.
I will. And maybe I'll decide that 40 was a good number.
You probably will. I'm just saying.
Okay, so moving on, discussion items. We have our mission and vision statements that have been created for the district.
They're not in the board packet. We need to put them
I
in
just
the-
realized I didn't attach.
They
that.
aren't, so I was thought maybe we
sent
were
them to
getting
you.
a.
Yeah, I think they're in the email.
But I was supposed to go in and add those in and I forgot to
That's
do
okay.
that.
Well, I'm gonna bring in my email over talking so that I can see them.
So,
Alright.
yeah, you probably don't have it with you, do you? Your fancy slide that you had that had that information on it.
Grab it in a second.
No, that's all right. I just want to talk about it with the board, make you aware of it.
Email it to you.
I did email it to
You did.
all of you.
I have it right here.
I forgot to add a document. Our mission statement, and again, we spent a lot of time on these, and I want to thank Patrick for leading that, going through the struggles of getting people to come and contribute, and we reached out to a lot of people trying to get their ideas and contributions so that people would have input on this. Our mission statement that we decided on, and we think of the mission statement as exactly just a brief statement of what it is we actually do as a district. And so our mission statement is the mission of Union City Community Schools is to educate and prepare each child for their future. And I'll make a couple of comments on a couple of those terms. The one thing that everybody agreed on was that educating had to be a big part of our mission, and that is really what we are here for. But every time we talked about it, we also talked about the fact that it seems like these days educating is about half of what we do, because there seems to be so much more to it than just education. We are involved with, we're almost like a social services agency anymore, with the additional support that so many of our students need in many areas, not the least of which is food service and counseling services, a lot of interventions. So we coordinate support from a number of different agencies. There are a whole host of additional services that go into preparing each child. And so after a lot of debate and struggle for what would that next other word be, or do we need 2 or 3 or 4? Well, we wanted to keep it simple. We settled on prepare as encompassing the other things that we do to try to help them. And then we also talked about whether we would say educate and prepare the children in this community or our students, and for a long time we talked about different groups. We realized we're more than just Union City, though. We have multiple communities. So we didn't want to say the children of Union City because it's not just Union City. We have a lot of schools of choice students. We have Sherwood, Burlington, and so we also wanted to emphasize what we think our district is best at and what we have that other districts don't have. We don't have all the things Harper Creek does, but we're a small district and we can focus on each kid, each child. They don't get lost here. Hopefully, that's what we really strive for, and so that's why we used each child as our reference, and the whole point of this is to help them be ready for their future. So I think that's pretty much the discussion we had. Patrick, do you have anything you want to add to that, or?
Just for the end, we chose child instead of student because we do more than just the educating piece. They're more than just students, like you said, with all the other pieces. So that's why we chose child instead of student at the end of it also.
So then our vision statement, vision is what we see or what we want our district to be. If you looked at our district, so this is not about what we do, but it's just if somebody came and looked at our district 10 years from now, what would we want them to see when they look at our school district? And we settled on that we want to be a model. So we want to be a district that other districts similar to us in size and makeup would want to come and look at us and see what we're doing. So we want to be a model small community school district. We're not trying to be Harper Creek, we're not trying to be Battle Creek, we're trying to be a model small community school district. And we want to provide outstanding academic, athletic, extracurricular, and support programs. And so we want all of those areas to be outstanding. And again, that the whole thing there is that we're preparing each child for their future. So when you look at our district, we want people to see a model small community district with outstanding programs. And that's how we came up with the vision. And there was a lot of discussion and a lot of multiple ideas that people put forward that we played around with, and that's what we settled on. So I wanted to share that with the board tonight, and then we're going to be putting some materials together. Patrick's already been working on that to share that with the school community and the entire community at large in the next weeks and days ahead.
Great.
Okay?
Great, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that work too, Patrick. Appreciate that. All right, move on to construction update. Where are we at?
Construction update. Okay, so first, before because I don't want to forget, before I start talking about the bleachers and the stadium, we had some new lights put in our elementary over the weekend. Contracted with a company to upgrade the lighting in the main hall, which has been dark and dingy. One of their biggest complaints for quite a while. And it's no longer dark and dingy. It's bright. And they did that over the weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I put out for bids. I was thinking this was going to be a very expensive project. It ended up being about $5,000. So we got a couple of bids. We had 5 different companies come look at it and got a couple of bids. Turns out it was only $5,000. So I just, we did the purchase order and it's all taken care of. So
Fantastic.
if you stop down there sometime, take a look at
Is
it.
it too bright?
I don't think so.
That's what
That's what she just said.
'Cause I don't wanna get that problem either.
I don't,
It looks awesome.
honestly,
It
I
looks
haven't
awesome.
looked at the whole thing
Mandy,
because,
you're like halos when you walk in and out. Oh, okay.
They are.
Oh, yeah.
have you seen it?
Yeah, I wasn't there today.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
They're nice. They're right.
Does it make the floors look bad? I mean, all these things
Scott's
have.
great. Mr. Scott's awesome.
I haven't seen the whole thing because I had to let him in
You thought it was
Saturday
5,000,
morning.
200,000 before we got
I
here.
had to let him in Saturday morning and Sunday morning, and Saturday they got half of them done, so I met him at 8 on Sunday. He said, let me show you the half, and so he showed them to me, and that part looked good. So, but I assume that when the whole thing was done,
It's Jim was over there today, and he did say that he needed to touch the floors up a little bit. So, he's like, I need to clean these a little bit.
Are those hallways used to have skylights?
they did used to have skylights in them, yeah. That leaked a lot, which is why those were, yeah, they leaked a lot.
Did somebody break in through one of those?
That was here,
That was here? Okay.
yeah. Back my first year teaching. So,
Good, well, that's great. Now, this one.
Construction.
okay, so in the middle school, that's all getting wrapped up. Now, the bleacher project, Mr. Nagel is completing the backfill for the bathrooms and the steps and all around the concession stand. So if you happen to venture over there, you will, Wednesday it's supposed to be 55, which would be a nice day. You'll see that the ground floor by between the press box and the bleachers is pretty close to the level it will be at. There will be cement placed on top of that. But it gives you a much better idea what it will look like, and you can see the slope that the steps will take, and so it's much easier to envision how things will look. They're still planning the aluminum work to be first week of March. They know very well that we are going to be using the stadium for a track meet on April 2nd. I really doubt the bathrooms will be done.
They
Because-
said they were going to be done. I asked
Huh?
that question like 8 times, and they're gonna be done, they're gonna be done.
Well, they're still shooting for that, but they had some holdups because of not being able to get up there to backfill because of the weight restrictions on the roads. But now that he's been able to backfill, just today he was filling in he had to put in probably 4 feet of gravel to bring it up to the level where the cement floor will be laid. So they needed to get that gravel in to be able to finish the plumbing, and then the cement contract will be in to put the floor in, and then they can finish the building. So I don't know what the length of time for that will be, but all the steps and the aluminum, the seats and all that stuff will be done by the end of March. I'm knocking on wood while I say that, but yes, it's coming along. The fencing, they've already done quite a bit of the fence work. The fence that goes between the bleachers and the track, that's already been installed. Some of the other fence repairs have been done, so they just have to do the fencing at the top to finish off when the pavilions, the ticket pavilions in that area are completed. So everything seems to be moving along now with some good weather, and hopefully Ryan will continue to be able to work on that backfilling and finish that up quickly so they can do the rest of the cement work there. Also, I posted today, or had Sarah post today, finished the creation of an RFP for track resurfacing, and that was posted today, with bids on that due on the 13th of March. So hopefully we will have some bids and we can bring those to you next month.
We wouldn't expect to have that done before the track season.
No, it
It's
won't
like
be done.
over the summer.
Yeah.
It will not be done before the track season. It'll be done, and I've talked with Mike Iyer about that. There's some cleanup still that has to be done on the track itself from the cement, and the cement contractor is well aware of that. I've talked with PSI about that, and he's assured me that they've been waiting until the plumbing gets hooked up to the press box so they have a water source that they can then use to help clean that off. And Mike is going to do some touch-up paint on some of the areas where the lines are a little light in order to get through this track season. And then this summer we'll do the resurfacing, so that by the opening of football season, everything will be done.
Do we have a timeline on like the siding situation for the press box?
Okay, I talked with Amber because she's leading that project for the boosters, and she's going to arrange a meeting with myself and some of the others on the boosters. I think I'm going to come to their first meeting, and I came to their last meeting. I think I'm going to come to their first meeting next month to talk about that. They're just basically waiting to get access around it, so we have to wait till the cement gets poured, and then they have full access. But we're going to check out exactly what they're going to work on and when they're going to get started on that. My guess would be that they'll start on that after our last track meet. That would be I don't think we want to be in the middle of that, in the middle of track season. I'm not sure they could get it done beforehand, but we should know more when we meet 1st of March.
And the like ticket pavilions and the other pavilions, those will be completed after the track season has started, or they're anticipating those to be completed as well?
Those are part of the bathroom. The same company that's doing the
Okay.
bathrooms is doing those, except for the foundation. The cement company's doing the foundation. So they'll be working on those right along as they're working on the bathrooms.
Gotcha.
They'll have their block people in to do what they need to do, and then it's just a matter of putting the roof on and that kind of stuff. So
Okay. All right. Great. Thank you. Thank you for that update.
you bet.
Any other questions for Chris regarding construction? Okay. Next is the preliminary enrollment information spring count day.
Yeah, our spring count, we were down slightly. We usually go down a little bit in spring. We were at 915. Now that's not FTE, that's number of students. Just like our in the fall, we were at 924 students. So that's a fairly typical drop, even though we never like to see any kind of a drop. It usually is. There are usually some students who, mostly high school students, who decide during the course of the year that they are no longer attending school, or they go elsewhere, or whatever. So
For this count day, is that how many kids were actually present that day?
no, that's not how many were present that day. We don't usually get everyone here that day, but that's what we anticipate. We'll meet the rules. When a student is absent, you have from the state a certain number of days for them to return to class and be able to be counted as present on that day. And it's just how stringently you have to document their absence and why they're absent. It depends on how long they're away. So that's the number that we believe we have enrolled on that day. Yeah.
questions? Comments? Okay. Closed session in March.
Yes, we're having a closed session today for, to talk about negotiations. I also wanted to do a closed session to discuss security. We have James has been, I asked him this fall to take over as sort of our security czar, safety person,
Yeah.
and safety liaison.
That sounds
I kind of do like that
Um,
title.
So, we had a security assessment done, and we have a lengthy list of recommendations that we've been provided with. Nothing that I believe he felt was a huge concern, but definitely some strong recommendations. It's not the kind of thing we want to talk about at a public meeting for obvious reasons. So we'll have a closed session in March to kind of go through those recommendations with the board. Some of the things are things that we could do without much cost fairly quickly, and James has been working on those. Other things are things that will require more cost and more planning. So we're gonna kind of go through those and talk about our priorities and your priorities as we, and I'll be getting you a copy of that sometime between now and that meeting, so that you can look through it before we have the meeting.
Great, sounds good.
That would just be on the end of our regular meeting.
Yeah, it'll be at the end of our regular meeting, just like today's closed session is.
Okay. We move on now to public comment, our second public comment section of the meeting. This is the section of the meeting in which the public may make comments or share their opinions about Union City Community Schools. We ask you to limit your concerns or comments to no longer than 5 minutes per person to allow others the opportunity to speak. This is an opportunity for the board to listen to your concerns. It is not board practice to act on the concerns voiced during this meeting to allow for the board to do further research. Do we have any comments at this time in the meeting? Seeing none, we'll move on to board roundtable. Does anyone have anything that they would like to bring forward at this time?
I give everyone a chance to go first. Two things. One, have we heard from the insurance company on the pipe break yet? Are they gonna pay for anything? Do we know?
Yes, so I've been sending him the invoices as they have come in. It was basically described to me that they pay for most of everything besides actually repairing the pipe. So like digging down to it, replacing like those things actually would qualify for that. So we of course have to pay deductible from that. But
You know what that is?
It's $2,500. So most of it should be covered then. So that was good news.
And some good news that came out of that whole thing was that
Oh, yeah.
we believed they believed we also had a leak going to the gym units, which is why that we weren't getting any heat in there. And so they did a lot of investigating, and it turned out that the one leak was covered everything. They're all hooked together at some point, but we still didn't have any heat in the gym. And that company, when they were here, we put them to work on both those units trying to figure out why we didn't have heat, and we now have heat in the gym.
Oh.
Both of them have been fixed.
Huge expense.
Without, I don't know what the expense ended up being, but significantly less than replacing anything. Yes.
Fantastic.
So we now have heat in our high school
Was
gym.
it clogged or something? Is that what it was?
No, one of them, there's a shaft that was burnt out that had to be milled. They had to have a replacement milled. And the other one was what part was it we had to put in the other one? Was it just a new motor? I don't remember. There was new parts needed for both of them. One we were able to get the part. The other one, there was no way to get the part, so they milled one.
That's
put
awesome.
it in.
This room's heated now over here? Or we're still waiting on parts for that one?
Room one is it back in service yet?
It's not like, so we're waiting on carpet.
Yeah,
We gotta replace all that, but the units themselves, I believe, are up and running.
Yeah, we had to do asbestos abatement.
Yeah. And they had to order the
'cause the
carpet,
flooring had
which
come
won't be
out.
until the beginning of March, so.
I thought we
Yeah.
were waiting for a part or something that was on back order.
The heating unit is working
Yeah.
now,
Okay.
but there's no carpet in there yet.
Yep,
So
Um,
was the abatement covered by insurance?
yes.
Yeah, buddy.
Well, it's all related to it's so weird how insurance
Yeah.
works, but anything related to water damage is covered, but actually replacing the pipe, which was really the least expensive part of it,
We'll take
is
it.
not
Wasn't
covered,
covered.
but I was like,
Yes.
okay, that doesn't make sense, but sure.
Insurance. It's not
Yeah,
fair.
it's insurance.
Okay, that was one thing, so good, thank you.
Mhm.
The second thing might cause some angst to people, but I was asked by someone if we had weighted grades for Math and Science Center and for AP classes. And I thought years ago we agreed to do that, but evidently we didn't. So I was just curious if we can confirm that we don't have them, and then if we can confirm if that's what we want to do. We don't have to do it tonight, but that's something that I wanted to bring up.
We do not have them. I don't
But
believe.
is,
Yeah, I remember you guys had a presentation that Amber talked about that one time, but I don't think anything was
It's
changed.
been
I think it was before you were here.
a while.
It comes up every couple of years.
but I thought for Math and Science Center, like a B at the Math and Science Center was considered still a 4-point, a C was considered a 3-point
I thought there
B.
was some grading, but that
That's
evidently
what I
there's
thought
not.
too.
Yeah, is that not weighted?
That is, as I recall, and this is the last time this came up, I believe, a decision was made to make a B would be worth 4 points,
Right.
but an A would still remain worth
4
4
points. Correct.
points.
Yes,
The A would not go up to 5 points.
Yes.
Maybe that's what it was.
The maximum would stay at 4 points.
yes. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Some places do shift everything up, and for a long time, every time this would come up, we would decide not to shift it up. But I believe that's the current situation.
Could you find that out and let me know, just so I can let that person know?
I can.
Thank you.
But I don't think AP. I don't-
AP's not though?
I don't
Just
think.
Math and Science
that
Center.
they-
Just
yeah,
Math
just
Science
Math and
Center.
Science
Okay.
Center.
I will check.
But we
on
don't have
that.
any AP classes currently, right?
We have AP World History.
Yeah.
Oh,
Last year, the first year offering that.
okay. I know we had it again. Okay.
Yep.
Anything else?
No,
Just checking, just checking.
not at this time.
Gotcha.
I might cover myself. I'll think something later.
Okay.
Anytime you have a question like that, Darren, you can also, I mean, whenever it comes up in the week, if somebody asks you a question between meetings, if you email me, I can get you an answer.
Yeah, he asked me further recently, and I'll just ask at the meeting. So
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to. Yeah.
I just don't want you all to feel like you have to wait till
Oh no,
a meeting to get an answer for a parent
I
or
was in
something.
a hurry. The discussion was helpful because I had forgotten that part.
Gotcha. All right, anything else?
Make a motion to go into closed session to discuss collective bargaining.
So moved.
And
Yep.
Isn't that so moved yet?
No.
Someone has to support it.
So.
Do you wanna support it?
Support, that's what I meant.
I knew that's what you meant.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, Jen.
Discussion,
After this, we're going to be closing up, right? So we don't
Yes.
need to stick around.
yes, yes. Yes, so after we go into closed session, the only thing left to do is adjournment. And so you can stick around for adjournment if you'd like, or you can be set for the night.
Go to the basketball game.
Seeing no other discussion, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the same. Motion carries. We will go into closed